like to welcome you all to this episode of Videocast, and I have with me one of the most interesting personalities one might encounter in the art world. Kapil Chopra is someone who's a bit of a legend on the hospitality scene. He's someone who spent decades with the Oberoi Group, and since then has gone on to several other very, very exciting properties within the hospitality domain. He's currently the founder and CEO of Postcard Hotels, and is the chairman of the board at Easy Diner. Kapil, welcome to the show. It's very nice to have you here.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you, Arvind.
Now, you might wonder what this hospitality legend is doing on a show where we are discussing art, but amongst the several hats that Kapil dons, one is that of an art promoter. He runs a very successful enterprise called the Best College Art that has been around for over a decade now and has done an incredible job in promoting young talent, professional as well as amateur. And over the next hour or so, we will be discussing his journey within the art world and his observations. So Kapil, to begin with, I'd just like to start off at the very outset. Tell us about your initiation. How did you stumble upon the world of art? What drew you to this part of the world?
Okay, so thank you, Arvind, for all the kind words and all. Legends are much older and all. I'm much younger, I think. But interesting journey, really. I had no connection with art. I don't think I can even paint even a flower properly or a river or a mountain properly. So pretty much not connected with the world of art in a very big way. Right. And then I still remember there was this lady who used to run a gallery, and she used to work for me at the Oberoi many years back. And she wanted to do a show, and she couldn't get any space. And at the Trident in Gurgaon, where I was the first general manager, we were trying to do something with art-related activity. So she says, "Can I get a space?" And it was a great way for me to invite my loyal guests and for over a cocktail and with art at the backdrop.
Sure.
And this is how it started. So I walked, and she told me, she says, "We'd like you to inaugurate the show." I said, "Are you kidding me? I don't want to inaugurate an art show. I thought art was all mumbo jumbo, so it's not for me." And then I walked into that show, Arvind, and I think that's where it started. I walked into the show and something connected. And I said, "Wow, what an amazing thing." And I walked with her mother to every single artwork, and they had invited a lot of artists. I met them and I saw them. And that's how it started. I still remember my first art purchase was a Jogen Chaudhary. And it was it was kind of the starting of the art boom. And I still remember I bought it for 7.5 lakhs. So the first purchase was a big purchase that I really liked. And for somebody who never bought any work of art till that time. And I just loved the work. It was from his series Wounded. And I absolutely loved it. And I bought that work. And from that, the journey would start. I would travel with Oberoi Hotels to every single city or on work. And I would always go and see the art galleries and start picking up stuff. And the second key important point in my art journey was you, actually, Arvind. We met. We were staying in the same colony, and we met. And you took me to the world of contemporary art and what was the difference between decorative art and contemporary art, and how the boundaries of contemporary art were being challenged constantly. And I remember coming to your Bodhi art gallery, doing events together. And there were so many initiatives that you and I discussed together. So I owe a lot of what I did later in art to art discussions. And I used to really look forward to them. And that's how it actually started, really. Right. And then there was no holding back. I became a compulsive collector. So I remember there would be art invitations coming around, and my secretary would tell me that, you've got an art event to attend at 6:30 tonight. And she would just keep a signed check in my pocket because very few people were buying younger contemporary art during that time. So for a gallery owner to get a sale on the first night itself was big. And I would go into the show with that signed check and just get the best price and the best works and sign for it. So actually, I used to get a lot of gallery invitations because the word got around Delhi that he would come and buy always on the first night. And I really did buy a lot on the first night. And that's how it started, actually.
Right. So you make a very important point, that of financial muscle. We'll come to that, Kapil. But as I see it, this conversation that we're going to have will get divided into two parts. One of your understanding of art from the perspective of a promoter, and the second, which is through the eyes of a collector. There are very few who actually have a lens on both sides of the equation. So to begin with, the idea of promoting art formally. So you're this collector who's sort of very, gung-ho. You're a bit of a maverick. You go and you make offers, you buy, and the bug has bitten you. At what point did you realize that you wanted to professionally promote this? I mean, that, you wanted to put some skin into the game and
great question. So, I'm a corporate guy, really, Arvind. Okay, I run businesses, yeah, and I'm a professional corporate guy. I'm not a guy who's inherited a business and I'm running that. So you kind of make everything from scratch. So you think you have the ability to transform or make a change in anything that you get into. You inherently believe in that. So from that perspective, when I started becoming a collector, I suddenly realized it was during, I think, 2006, 2007, and the art market had just started kind of moving up, and I saw a lot of speculation in the art market. Okay,
Right.
coming in from a corporate background, I could see that it was very unhealthy for the art market. That one day this market is going to crash so badly that it will take decades for it to recover.
Sure.
Because what was happening was very unhealthy. Prices were going up like stupidly. Values were being revised. People were looking at stupid things like, this one has 2 figures, so the price has to be higher, and this one has 3 figures, so the price has to be higher. And overnight, artists were becoming PR sensations, and all page three were about 3 art parties that happened. So that's the sign of a bubble. As a corporate guy, I could see that's the complete sign of a bubble. So what I started doing was, my entire experiences as collector, if you remember, Arvind, I started writing about it. I started writing a blog called indianartinvest.blogspot.com. If you're looking at buying art, these are the things you should watch out for. These are the young artists I see. And there was no commercial reason to start doing that. That blog became so popular that I remember one day I was at the Oberoi, and I met Avik Sarkar, and who runs the Telegraph and himself is a very big collector. And he says, why don't you start writing for the Sunday magazine in Calcutta, Graffiti? And Calcutta is a hub of art, and that drew a lot of criticism because I started writing from the language, and my first sentence was, I don't know anything about art, but I'm a collector, so I'm speaking from the point of view of a collector. And that column became quite a rage, really, and due to which I was invited to Art Singapore and a couple of art fairs where they kind of walked the show. And it was then there was an interview on Bloomberg in New York, prime time. Basically, all my experience as a collector, because I have no idea. Like I said, I can only view art from the eyes of a collector. And I remember something you told me many years back. Finally, Kapil, buy what you like. Okay, and I always kept it to heart. I bought what I liked, whether people liked it or not. And I had another thing was that I would never buy the moderns. And the reason for that was very simple. One, I did not have the money to buy the moderns. Okay. Two, I always thought to myself, and my daughter was very young and she loved drawing, and all kids are genuinely born artists. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a son today who just keeps on drawing all the time. They kind of churn out 10 drawings a day. Yeah. So my point was, what if she wants to take visual arts as a career option?
Sure.
And I looked around and said, she'll die of starvation, because making it successful as a visual artist in this country, you have a higher chance in Bollywood. Go and try and become an actor in Bollywood. You have a higher chance that you'll be able to make a living out of art. Very, very few people in this country can make a living out of visual arts. So for me, that was a very big sore point. And I suddenly realized that I was lamenting. I was lamenting the government. I was lamenting the fact that I went to Sydney and I saw 85-year-old people walking into a Kasuma show, and so were 6-year-old walking into that show. But in India, there was nothing like it. And so what was I doing? I was lamenting the system.
Right.
And then one day it came to me that there was no point lamenting the system and criticizing the system and writing a nice column like a journalist writing a column. Why don't I fix the system? And, so because I was a corporate guy, in a corporate world, you say, okay, there's a problem. Now you need to solve the problem, and you need to take full accountability and responsibility for solving the problem. So I looked at it that way and I said, okay, let's solve it. How do we solve it? And that's how Best College Art started. And they said, if you are a villager painting in a remote village in Bihar, how does a collector in Delhi come to know about the great talent and art that you have? And how can I build a platform? So much before even Flipkart started, I think we were pretty much the first platform to kind of enable an artist and a buyer to meet and actually buy the artwork. And that's how Best College Art started, because I said everybody's in the college of life. And let me start building a platform for that. And that is how we kind of built pretty much, I think, the first online gallery in this country, which was enabled for transactions. That means you could pay on the site, get a work shipped to your home. And we started this 10 years back. So that was the reason for me to really come in and do something in the art world. There was never any commercial reason for it, really. It was just that I wanted to, I thought I was a major part of the art ecosystem. And then, Arvind, from that came The Wall. For 5 years, we ran an online art magazine. Even if you go today and do thewallartmag.com, it's a 50-page digital online, beautifully produced magazine. And the reason for that was, again, very simple. When the art market crashed, like I predicted in my blog in 2008 or so, that it would crash and it would kill the contemporary Indian art market, which I think till today has not recovered from that brutal crash.
Correct.
Because when people lose money, they retain what I call an institutional memory that they lost money into this asset class.
Absolutely.
And in India, those wounds were very deep. So the reason to do the wall was also very simple. That I was always busy. I could never go and attend Thukural and Tagra opening at Nature Mart. So the wall could cover that, and I could see it that night. Oh, wow, what a great opening. And maybe I could see some works. So one was accessibility. The second part was that everybody had stopped doing everything in the art world in those 5 years.
Sure.
From between 2012, 13, or 2010 to 15 onwards. Everybody just stopped everything.
Sure.
Because everybody was in deep losses and recovering from it. Galleries had stopped doing shows. You would go to an art gallery, and the moment you'd walk in, they'd start switching on the lights. This is how bad it had become. So I thought that golden era of Indian contemporary art, or where artists were still trying to produce some great work, is going to be lost. So
Sure.
the only, compiling that data or chronicling that data would be the wall. That, what happened in India between 2010 to 15? What were the shows that opened? What was the show that opened in 2012 where Balaji Ponna opened the show? This is it. I can go into the Wall Art TV, the Wall Art magazine and all. And then I shut down the wall after, I think, 2 years or 3. No, I think 4 years back. It was very difficult to keep on producing content, but it was very good content. People loved it. And it was very difficult to keep on producing content. And I realized that a lot of people did not appreciate what we were trying to do in terms of trying to produce content.
Right.
Galleries were without any money. It's like the last Mughal emperors. They had no money. They were pretty much close to being paupers. Okay, but they had still an air of royalty about them, and galleries had nothing. They would have no sales and whatever. And the wall guys would go and say, we want to shoot the show, and they had 500 issues. And we said, here's a bunch of people who didn't want to be helped. So why are we helping them?
Sure.
So we shut the wall down, really. Yeah, and so I've had a very ringside love-hate view of the art world, but it just doesn't really matter because I thought we kind of created our own ecosystem.
Clearly, so Kapil, you may have the love-hate relationship happening, but you're deeply ensconced in it yourself. As I understand, you rolled up your sleeves, you decided to fix a problem as you saw it. You created the first transactionally active marketplace, so to speak. And the model of Best College Art, as I understand it, it's a democratic environment where there is no curatorial criteria per se. If you are in your own personal regard, a talented artist, you can upload images of your artworks. You're allowed to upload up to how many? 5 works?
Five images. Five images.
So those who are not familiar, I mean, if you've been living under a rock and haven't quite encountered Best College Art yet, what you can do on the platform is you can go and upload up to 5 works that you created. There will be no questions asked. You can upload the works and they'll stay on for a duration of 90 days. Is that correct, Kapil? So
Yes,
for 90 days, they stay on. And during the time, there's a bevy of collectors and investors who visit this website. And if they like your work, you stand a democratic chance of, finding your work acquired.